Hello and thanks for joining me. I've not done a riding vlog for a while, so I thought I'd do one today, and I want to talk about why it is essential that you own more than one motorcycle. Now, if you are struggling to justify multiple motorcycle ownership to anyone, even if it's just yourself, then hopefully this video will give you some ideas. So, if you follow this channel, you know that I own several bikes. Why? Why do you need several bikes? Well, for me, it's like owning a pair of shoes. Yes, you can get away in life with just owning one pair of shoes. It'll get the job done, but it is deeply limiting. You probably don't want to wear the same pair of shoes that you would go to your best friend's wedding in to go climbing up a mountain in the middle of winter. You know, essentially what I'm saying is, or maybe the same pair to go down the pub with your mates on a Friday night. What I'm saying is that different bikes do different jobs. Different bikes do different jobs in different ways. They do certain things better than others, and that's why it's important to have more than one motorcycle. So without further ado, let's have a look at the range of bikes that it's important for you to have. The first bike, which everyone should have, is what I will call the sensible motorcycle. That's the the reliable everyday transport bike. It's the Swiss Army knife of the motorcycle world. It's reliable, it's utilitarian, and it's probably a bit on the boring side. It's the bike that you use to get to work. It's the bike that you don't mind riding in poor weather, in the rain, when there's salt on the roads. It's the bike that's cheap to run. It's got good fuel economy, tyres and spares on it are not so expensive. Back in my day, back in the 1980s, then the Honda CX500, the Maggot, that was the popular workaday bike with most people. I don't know what's today's equivalent, probably something like a Honda CB500X. Hondas are always good, reliable bikes. These lads are in a hurry. Or maybe the Yamaha MT7. Or probably something smaller for most people. It's got to be a good, reliable workhorse bike. Practical, efficient, but probably about as thrilling as beige wallpaper. So, although having a practical, reliable, dependable bike like this in your life is important, would you really want it to be the only bike in your life? Well, of course not. That's the motorcycling equivalent of having porridge every day for your breakfast and nothing else. It's nourishing, sure, but you don't exactly fantasize about it, do you? So that brings me along to the second category of bike, which is the fun bike. The fun bike is the motorcycle that makes your heart race every time you open the garage door. It's not about practicality, it's not about economy, it's about the pure, unfiltered joy of riding. Now, what that is will depend on your particular disposition. It might be a sports bike, might be something like a Panigale, it might be a retro-styled cafe racer bike, which is what I have with my Norton Sight 961. It might be a Steve McQueen bike, it might be an outrageous chopper, some kind of radical bike. But this bike exists for one purpose only, and that's to remind you why you started riding in the first place. It's the bike that you will probably only ever take out on a sunny Sunday morning, but you go out there just for the sheer joy of riding it. You're not going anywhere in particular, you're just going out there with a grin on your face, because that's what's riding all about. But of course, it's not a good idea to have a bike like this as your only bike. They tend to be, if we're talking about big, sports bikes, the other kind of bikes, they guzzle a lot of fuel, they get through tyres, and, if you're anything like me getting on a little bit, you probably need a chiropractor after you've been out for a long ride on it. So it's not exactly a sensible commuting bike. Okay, let's have a look at the third category of bike that everyone should have, that I believe, and that is an off-road bike. It doesn't really matter what kind of off-road bike. So I have an enduro racing bike, a KTM EXC, but a lot of my friends ride Honda CRF 250s or 300s, or you get the bigger, older ones like the Kawasaki KLR 650, the Suzuki DRZ 400. But these are bikes that are just great fun for getting off-road and enjoying riding off the tarmac. They have to be lightweight, they have to be probably an older bike, because you're not going to be then worried about getting it dirty, getting it beaten up, falling off it, what have you. But these bikes are great for just reminding yourself that you've still got a lot to learn in terms of riding skills. They can be very humbling to ride. It also brings a different dimension to riding, another sense of dimension to riding. I love off-road riding. Well, I say off-road riding, I should say off-tarmac riding. In the UK we call it green laning on untarmacked roads. It's another whole dimension to riding, and it's something that I particularly enjoy doing over the winter months when road riding is maybe not so much fun because the weather's horrible. Okay, so what's the fourth kind of motorcycle that you should have? Well, it's some kind of classic or vintage bike. This is, this is the motorcycling equivalent of having a classic Jaguar in your garage. It's not necessarily something that you're going to ride a lot, but it's something that's just a real joy to own. And I know that many people enjoy these bikes, whether they be very, very old vintage bikes from the 1930s through to classic British bikes of the 50s, 60s and 70s, which I particularly enjoy. Or these days, a lot of the early Japanese bikes are now classics, and several of my friends own old classic Japanese bikes, like, for example, the Honda CB 750 or some of the older Suzukis. These are just beautiful bikes to own, and as I say, you probably wouldn't ride them very much, but here in the UK the tax is free on them, insurance tends to be quite cheap, so it's something that even if you only take it 3 or 4 times a year out for a gentle Sunday run, it's still a joy to have a bike like that in your garage. And then what about a fourth category? Well, that's the touring bike, the adventure touring bike. So many people ride these and they never actually go very far on them. They maybe do a week in Europe on them once a year or something like that, but that doesn't matter. It's about the sense of possibility, I think, that you get from owning a bike like that. You could, if you wanted to, if you like. So we're talking about the BMW GS's, the GS 1250 or the new GS 1300 or a Honda Goldwing or any of those big comfortable touring bikes. They're designed for epic journeys, the big cross-continental journeys. They're comfortable, they're luxurious, and yeah, it's a different kind of motorcycling. Is it the kind of bike that you want to commute on them? Well, yeah, of course you could commute on them, but you probably wouldn't want to be riding a bike like that to work every day. No, it's not about commuting, it's about having a bike to go off on those long adventures. I could go on to other categories of bikes, but you get the idea. So, am I right? Does every rider really need to have several bikes in the garage? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this. Just a bit of fun, rambling on whilst I'm out for a nice ride. As always, I say to you, ride safe. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.